Hey, you've got this part of the video. You've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks. It's Thursday night. It's 7th of March. It's 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone. If you got this any other time than that, you've got the recorded version on our live channel on YouTube, and that's okay. Hang tight. If you're visiting with us for the first time, stay around a little bit. We're going to do a little bit of pre-show, then we'll get started with the regular show. If you're in the chat, like Tony is, welcome, Tony. Good to see you. Jeff's checking in already. It's always great when the guest checks in the chat room before everybody else does. I'm here with Jeff Sieh. Jeff, welcome to your first Home Gadget Geeks. Hopefully this will be one of many in the future.
This is going to be fun. I can feel it already.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you. Ken's checking in as well. Good to see you, Ken. I mentioned Tony was checking in a little bit earlier. Checking in the chat room if you could. Jeff, there's two things we talk about in the pre-show while we allow everybody to kind of get in here. One is, what are you drinking? But you and I already had a bourbon conversation.
Right, we did.
Awesome, by the way. Thank you for having that with me. The other is where you're located and the weather. Tell me what city you live in, if you're okay with that, or region or whatever.
Yeah.
And then what's the weather like where you're at?
So I'm in Longview, Texas. So if you're trying to, Texas is a big place. And so I'm on the east side of Texas. We're actually 2.5 hours east of Dallas and about 45 minutes from Shreveport, Louisiana, which is amazing because I get Tex-Mex, I get Cajun food, I get Texas barbecue. I mean, that's why I look the way I do. I have an hourglass figure whose time is up. But the thing so the weather here is actually, we may even hit some storms tonight. Hopefully it won't knock out power or anything.
I'm watching the weather here. It looks like you've got some
coming. In Dallas got
how
some
close
already.
are you to Tyler then?
Yeah, Tyler's about 45 minutes on the other side. Yeah, so it's 30 minutes, just depending on traffic.
You're you're between Shreveport and Dallas.
Yeah, so it's on I-20 right there. Yep. So been here over about 30 years now, but I grew up in Kansas. So
whereabouts in Kansas?
A little town called Rossville, Kansas. It's by Topeka. Capital.
Yeah, west side or east side of Kansas.
We actually have some hills and stuff. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, it was pretty flat in Kansas. Uncle Marv's saying hola, welcome, Uncle Marv. Joe's checking in. Good evening to see you, Joe. I'm looking at the weather radar now, and it looks like Dallas is getting hit with some thunderstorms. You guys might have some. Hopefully, do you have a battery backup? Like if a thunderstorm.
I do, but the internet probably would go out too.
That's
so I mean, like I have enough to protect my stuff here. But like growing up in Kansas, like we had tornadoes, and even the house I grew up in had a dirt floor basement. I mean, we had somewhere to go. But in Texas, like you pretty much go to the middle of your house, bend over, and kiss your butt goodbye. Is what it is. That's the plan for everything. And it makes me nervous because in Kansas you could see them coming. In Nebraska, same. You can see them. Storms rolling in. But it's like we got pine trees, and it's just.
Oh man, yeah.
So not
no, Texas for whatever reason never did basements, and you don't.
Water table's too high.
No,
I dig a fence post. I have water filled up.
You get water in the bottom. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's true. Okay, you mentioned barbecue. So you were from the Kansas area, so you had Kansas City barbecue. Have you had South Carolina barbecue?
I have.
And then you have Texas barbecue. Right. What do you prefer?
I actually do I have a smoker, and I smoke meat all the time. I just finished a big pork butt that we had. And so it's so easy. It's stupid simple to do pork butt, and that's why I like doing it. Sure. But Texas barbecue is really, really good. I love Kansas City barbecue. I mean, you can't ever say no to barbecue, but that's how I kind of rate it. Like Texas, then Kansas City, which are really, really close. There's the choice of wood. A lot of times they'll use pecan here in Texas, and a lot of folks use oak, I think, in Kansas City area. So it just depends, but that's kind of what I want to do.
North Carolina, South Carolina, more, I think, vinegar based. Yeah. I think sauces. Kansas City, more sugar, kind of sugary.
Yeah.
Tomato. And then I think, how would you describe Texas?
Texas it's still a tomato based, but it's not as sweet as I would say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of on the ribs are probably more dry rubs than, like in Kansas City, be kind of that sticky sauce on it. So which is, I never turn my
so good.
It is so good. So good. Burn ends. Yeah.
So good. Tony says Eastern North Carolina barbecue for the win.
Oh, there we go. I haven't had that, but I love so I'll try any kind of barbecue. So Anthony, you can take me out anytime, and I will eat whatever you put in front of me.
I'm not ever complaining if somebody says barbecue. I'll take I'll take all of them. So, good stuff. Yeah. I love. I actually make a whole hog pulled pork, which is where I take ham and butt and ribs and a loin if I can get a hold of it, maybe even a little pork belly, and smoke them all together. And then when it's over, you pull that apart and just mix it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever bury like a whole hog? Because like Texas, we have a
No,
problem.
it's
Like
too big. Yeah.
we're the only state I think you can actually shoot hogs from a helicopter legally. Seriously, they have like tours that you can do that.
Arkansas, I think, is that bad too. Yeah.
And it's a big, they're a message.
But you won't want to eat those pigs, right? That's
No,
wild.
I've had them. They're
really
good. You put them in the ground and cook them long enough, everything tastes good. So
Tony says he's not opposed to brisket either. And of course, do you think brisket is the main in like Texas? It seems like brisket shows up all the time.
Yeah, brisket is big. I mean, brisket's good. It's just hard finding because for me, brisket is a toss up sometime. I did find a good trick. If you can go to the grocer and if you could fold one pretty easily, that's a sign of a good brisket because if it has a bunch of fat running through it, it's hard and you can't do that. So that's what I've been doing now to pick a brisket.
All right.
Pulled pork. I mean, pork butt is just so easy. Put a rub on it, throw it in there overnight, and it just it just falls apart.
Yeah, no, you just low and slow, let it go overnight. Yeah. No, I haven't done a whole. I don't have I may have a pretty big smoker, but I wouldn't, not big enough to necessarily actually do the whole hog. But my daughter was watching a YouTube video of some kind, and she watched this restaurant that did the whole hog, and I thought, like, how could I replicate that but not have 1,000 pounds of meat when I was done? Right? Because we're a family of 3, and maybe we're 9 when all the kids come over. But you're still like, okay, I don't know if we could eat that much meat. So kind of compromised with 2 pounds of loin, 2 pounds of butt, 2 pounds of pork belly if I can get it, or 2 pounds of ham, or 2 pounds of rib, and then throw that all together. That gives just
all that different kind of meats are really cool.
Like, yeah. By the time we're done, you just pull I set the ribs on top, and it just kind of drips down, and then you just pull those ribs out when you're done, and then just take the claws or whatever, mix it all together. Good. The last time we did it, we didn't even have to put much sauce on it. It was kind of just naturally
perfect.
Good.
Yeah,
it was super good. It was super
something
good.
About we were talking about where I'm located. Like, so when we moved here many moons ago. We never been, but crawfish boils are big here because we're so close to Louisiana. So we've been having crawfish boils. We didn't do it last year, but the last one we did, we had like 300 pounds of crawfish. We have big old tables, and we make them and we shuck them out on the table.
Yeah.
So, and it's crawfish season right now. It just hit March, so good.
It's good. It's good. Last time I have family in Temple, Texas, down there. And last time we were down there, we did that, and not that much, but there was a bunch of us there. And just delightful, pour it out. Just
do you have the potatoes and the corn and sausage all in there too?
Yeah. It was delicious. And everybody just comes around the table and grabs what they want. Fun. Yeah, it's super good. I need to do more of that here, but it's we the fish in Nebraska, or the crawfish in Nebraska, not the best.
They're my uncle used to go to the bait shop and buy them and then cook them. he was a nut.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Well, guys, thanks for checking in. If you haven't checked in, if you're in chat, I think probably a few of you watching that haven't checked in the chat room, let us know you're here. We're going to get to Joe says we go through pretty close there, heading to Galveston. So he's swinging by there. And Tony says he's not opposed to brisket either with all the sausages. So it's some good, man. Now I'm kind of hungry.
I know.
I just ate too.
I just ate for some pork, some.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, let me get this thing started, and I'll get you in here in just a second. Let me kick this thing off. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geek, show number 602 with Jeff Sieh, recorded on March 7th, 2024. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studio here in a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. A little rain, but not quite the rain Jeff's getting down there in Texas. Jeff, are you going to be okay? I mean, I am watching the weather radar. It looks like you're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think we got enough time. If I have to run for the hills, you'll know.
If the lights go out,
right? Exactly.
We'll know. We'll know. Well. We'll post the show with some world-class show notes out at theaverageguy.tv. Big thanks to Gavin Campbell, who joined us last week. And if you haven't listened to that yet, it's out there for you. Lots of home automation talk. And Gavin always brings it. So head out there and get that done. 601, get it done today. And then big thanks to our Patreon subscribers as well for all of you who help support the show, whether 1 month or for many months, we appreciate that. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon if you want to join that team. Jeff C is with us today. Jeff comes via Ask the Podcast Coach, which I think you hang out in the chat room.
Yeah.
We started chatting one day, and I said, "Hey, why don't you come on the show, Jeff? I'd love to hear." I think we had some banter in the chat room, and I was like, "Hey, you're kind of a tech guy. Why don't you come on?" Thanks for joining me on Home Gadget Geeks.
Yeah, I think what it was is I was actually watching the show in my new Apple Vision Pro, and you're like, "Oh, why don't you come on?" That was the hook right there.
Yeah, that I think that's what got us started. We'll talk about that Apple Vision Pro here shortly. I want to get to know you a little bit. For folks who want to get to know more about Jeff, you can check him out. Jeff C. That's SIEH. If you want to check it out, JEFFSIEH.com, or over at socialmedianewslive.com. Jeff, give us a little bit of, before we dig in, give us what got you into tech. Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
So I always have been in tech, and I figured out a way, like, if I could write off my habit. And so I started doing, way back in the day, I think I had Premiere version 2. I started doing video editing back when the hard drives were monstrous and you thought 80 gigs was all you needed for the rest of your life. Yeah, it was a brick that I put in there. So, and I had to buy it from a specialty store. So I started doing video editing. That got me jobs and doing multimedia. I used to do remember the credit card CDs? Like when people would, I had a robotic machine that would print those off, and I had that locally. And so I did, the multimedia with Shockwave Flash. I was one of those who developed those Flash websites when they first came out with all the animation. You can thank me later. But
which is now dead. Which is now long dead. Yeah.
Which would take forever to load.
Spinning globes.
Yes, everybody thought they were the coolest
under
thing.
construction.
Right, all that stuff. So, and then I developed my, Microsoft Front Page, developing websites for people. Yeah. Then I kind of started my own company and was doing a lot of the video stuff and helping people. And I said, well, I better tell my clients to do this. I better do it. So I started a blog. Did that, and then I got into this thing called Google Plus, if you guys can remember that.
Long time ago.
And it was like the Wild West, because that's when live video, I mean, I don't know why they stopped, because they were so much ahead of Facebook and everybody else. Sure. They had comment trackers. We could bring in people's comments. And so I started a live show there with 5 other guys who had way more followers than I did. But that kind of kicked off everything. And so I was able to interview people like Guy Kawasaki, who now I do his podcast. And, we got the producer of Pretty Woman and all these people who were it was the Wild West. Everybody wanted to be on this live show thing. Yeah. So that transitioned to, I'd started a show, a blog, and it was mainly Pinterest tips, and it was kind of a joke. And then it kind of took off. And so I did a show and a podcast. That led to me getting hired by Social Media Examiner, which is a big social media company that does conferences and all this stuff. So I worked for them for 5 years. And then I started the Social Media News Live show. And I've been doing remote producing for people, podcast editing, and I still, all that kind of stuff. And then also Amazon influencing and, influencer marketing and all that sort of stuff. And that's kind of the origin story of all things.
You've probably said that a few times, haven't you?
Yes, I have. And I do some speaking and stuff too, which is fun. I enjoy that. So yeah, it's all good.
What's the style of Social Media News Live? How often do you do it? What do you talk about?
So it's every Friday, and we're actually, if you go search for the YouTube channel, it's Creator News Live, because we're getting ready to switch over to everything. But it started with, social media news and all that stuff, but and Jim and I were talking about this before the show. I kind of feel like social media has a negative connotation to it.
Yeah, it's taken on one, hasn't it?
Yeah, and we talk about so much more stuff about that. Like, I'm fascinated about creativity. That's why I listen to Jim and, and Dave on Saturday mornings, the podcasting aspect, but also there's all this, what creators do and how they monetize and all that stuff. And so it just makes sense to switch it over. But that kind of stuff fascinates me. And so I love to talk about that. AI is the thing that I've been doing a lot of stuff with and speaking about kind of my processes with my podcast and all that stuff. So it's fun. I always have been a nerd, and this just lets me buy better toys. That's what it is,
it's just a ton of fun. I've been doing this for a bunch of years, and a couple times I've contemplated, like, maybe I've run the gamut on what I want to do here. But there's always another interesting guest. There's always new. I mean, AI may change the way the things that we talk about from, the way we're doing things. AI, it's been about a year since OpenAI kind of there's that wasn't the first one. There had been AI
Right.
type tools. I think of Jarvis, which became
Right.
Jasper. I think of there were some other Otter.ai, which
Hmm.
was out before OpenAI, but OpenAI really, and Microsoft really launched this thing. Bard has since now rebranded as Gemini on the Google side of things. What do you think
I just lost you. I
if
guess
I
we're
were to ask you what's the best of AI in your world today? Just as we look at the tool overall, what do you think it's doing best?
so it's a tool. Like it's just a tool of things to use. And so what it's doing best for me is like doing things I don't like to do. Like I used to dread Thursdays before my show on Friday, having to write the emails and all the social posts and all that stuff. And now I have a template that I can throw into AI and change some things, and boom, it's done. And it lets me be more creative on different ways. It lets me have a kind of brainstorming session. One of the cool things I use for podcasting is one time I had two guests on my show at the same time, which was kind of rare, but I made the mistake of asking them like, "Hey, what do you guys want to talk about?" And they're like, "I want to talk about this." And he goes, "I want to talk about this." And I was like, "Oh crap. How am I going to blend this together?"
Yeah.
I put both of those into AI, and it seamlessly brought those together into a cohesive show, and I asked the questions and it worked perfectly. Stuff like that is what really works for me. Also creating images. I have my daughter, she does all this stuff now for my blogs and social posts. Being able to create really cool images really, really quickly and have them be original, I think that's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Do you think yeah, when we think about AI and the life cycle of it,
mhm,
think about the Gartner hype cycle, right? Of being
right.
overhyped and it hits a curve and then it comes into the trough of disillusionment. Where do you think we are in that cycle of AI? And it'll cycle a couple times, but are yeah, where do you think we are in that?
So one of the things I think, and I've talked about this a little bit before, is that I think that people are going to start distrusting the written word way
Mm,
more online.
mm,
But I also think what we do, live shows and podcasts, are really, really hard to fake. Now
mm,
you can bring on like avatars, and there's already some AI driven podcasts, and you can kind of tell what they are. But
mhm.
it's really hard to fake like, oh, Anthony said another product killed by Google. Oh, that's AI can't pull in those comments and have those questions come in and like the insider jokes that you have with the people who watch your show each week. It can't fake that. So I think we more and more companies are going to be looking to us and content creators who can do this, like because this breaks through that wall that everybody's going to be thrown out. It's easy to make a social post now. It's easy to make a really long form piece of content with AI, but people are like, "Why am I going to read this? It's not even a real person writing it, right?" And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I just think,
Our Kansas City Chiefs up here have,
yeah, I love the
won the
Chiefs.
Super Bowl, right?
Yeah,
And this year more than ever, I have seen more AI generated videos about the trades that have taken place or whatever after the Super Bowl, right? And you're right. It's really hard. And then there's I don't have the name of him now, but there's a guy I've been following on YouTube he's live. He's like you and me.
right.
And he brings the news, right? What's going
Hmm.
on, trades that have been happening. Between an AI generated video and watching a really human do it, d- it I mean, obviously I
Right.
trust the human more than the AI,
Yeah.
but do you feel like do you think those barriers are breaking down any, or do you think there will always be a little bit of a distrust of that
I,
kind of content that's AI generated?
I just think it's going to be hard to, whatever they say, it's really hard to gain trust back but because I like, it wasn't the Wall Street Journal, but it was something, because I read a lot. And I went to this person I've trusted for so long, and I could automatically tell that it was written by AI. And I'm like, why is this guy doing this?
Yeah.
Like,
Mm,
what he went the easy route, and I'm not going to read his stuff anymore. I mean,
right.
and so I think the more we can connect, and if you are going to write and use AI as a tool, make sure you use it as a tool to help enhance what your words are, your jokes or whatever, but don't copy and paste. I just think that's going to be, crazy.
Yeah, we've been using it internally where I work at Gallup for some list making, for some
Yeah.
summarizations. You can take a whole bunch. We got a whole bunch of customer feedback on an event that we did. we took the verbatims and dropped them in the AI.
Mhm.
We've purchased an internal engine where we can put our own data in
Right.
it, and it stays
Right.
protected, right? And it gave us some summary of that. I think it does some of those kinds of things really, really well. Don't you
I
think?
I love it for show notes for my podcast
Yeah.
because going and putting those in the transcript, the time codes and the timestamps. That is so. I use Descript, and I'm a big fan of Script. I even have a course out on Descript. And Dave's mentioned it before. But to me, it's a starting point. Like I still don't think those automatic, like I think it's Opus clips where they can cut up those AI stuff. It still doesn't get all the way there. Like it'll put you something, and you're like, that one doesn't work. You cut off in the middle of a sentence. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So Descript has a thing called Find Good Clips. And what it does is it highlights them, and then I can go in and finesse them more to get the output that I want. Because I do a lot of repurposing on all my content. But
Yeah.
that's just, I think, where we're at.
AI, certainly, I mentioned a year ago, AI kind of came on with Storm, but we were talking about VR before that. You're in the VR space. We're
Right.
going to talk a little bit about the Apple Vision Pro. But before we get into that, VR has really struggled. Like,
Yeah.
and we thought it would all be the next thing, and it's not. Obviously, AI. We spent the
Right.
first 10 minutes of the show talking about it. That's the next thing. What do you think? What went wrong, or what's going wrong? And do you think it will go right at some point? Will we get this figured out? You've had all the headsets, right?
Yeah. Pretty. I
Talk a
had the
little-
Rift that you plugged in, and
yeah,
you had the
yeah,
sensors you had to stick up on the wall and stuff. And
right.
I've always been fascinated with it because it's very, very cool. Like I'm a computer person and I love to fiddle fart around with that stuff. But people can't, and I think where Apple may succeed is that you can explain how awesome it is, and people still don't believe you until they strap the thing to their face.
Mhm.
Once they see that, like when I was able to have my parents be able to go down using Google Street View with VR down their old where they used to live and walk the streets and saw their faces. You could say that, yeah, you can use Street View. It's amazing. Da, da, da. Until they experience it, you can't. There's no way to like get that feeling that they need to see. So that's why I always tell people, I can tell you how cool it is, but until you come over and you try it on, like you just won't know. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think Meta did a lot for it, especially because a lot of gamers love the MetaQuest platform. I love it. Like I said, I had the Go, I've had the Rift, and I didn't buy the MetaQuest 3 because I knew I was going to get the Apple Vision Pro, but I think it's fitting a need, and it was moving forward. Like when I can't go out and walk, there's a boxing app that I love to do on the MetaQuest called Fit VR, which I am drenched with sweat with, and I get a workout with. And that kind of stuff I think is very, very cool and has some uses for it. Like it's something that can happen. I'm right in the middle of making a YouTube video about is the Apple Vision Pro worth it for Generation X? Because that's where I'm at. Like I'm Generation X. Should I get this if I'm Generation X?
Right.
And what I pretty much landed on was probably not, unless, because there, and we can get into all my pluses and minuses, but
Yeah, no, you're there, and I'm interested. Unless what? Like, because I too am a Gen Xer,
right.
and I have a MetaQuest 2. I bought
Mhm.
it last year,
Right.
Christmas time. It was a couple $100, whatever it was, $400 or $500. I messed with it for a couple weeks, and then it looks as good today as the day I bought it because
Yeah,
it is still plugged in,
Yeah.
hanging up on the wall. Where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to put it here so it's easy to grab, and I can
Right.
put it on, and I can use it for various things. But it hasn't. And I'm a
Were
tech
you a
guy.
gamer? Were you a gamer though?
No, maybe that's the problem is I'm not a gamer.
Yeah, I think because of it's really wrapped towards the gamer.
Yeah.
And I said unless, and it's so weird to me that Apple's done this, is for all their fitness apps and their watch and all this stuff.
Yep.
This is a very passive a device compared to the MetaQuest.
Okay.
The technology is mind blowing, Jim. I mean, you've got to go to an Apple store and try it on. It'll blow your mind. Like it really will. The resolution is amazing. I mean, it is amazing. The eye tracking is phenomenal. And it is the best television in my house. Right. It is. It's the best one. And the eye tracking is amazing. And one of the things I really want to talk about is I think the spatial video that you can actually take with this and the photos, and those are also available on the new iPhone, I think 15, that you can take those too. I think that's going to change the way we take photos.
In what way do you think?
Because when you watch them, it is like you're looking at a memory. It really is. It's like if you ever saw those Harry Potter movies where they had the pensive, when they'd like spit out the stuff and drop it in the bowl and he'd throw his face in and he would relive those memories. It's like that. Like I wish I had of my kids when they were younger, spatial videos that I could watch again. I'm going to be using this to take videos of myself because I know my kids, when I'm gone, will be able to watch it. You remember that scene at the end of Iron Man after Tony Stark, spoiler alert, gets killed?
I think it's okay.
Yeah. And they've got his helmet there and they're playing the memory of him like that. That, I mean, it's even more immersive than that. I mean, it's amazing. So those are the big things. If you're a tech guy and if you have $4,000 just lying around that you want to spend on this thing.
Right. Is that how much it cost?
Mine did because I have glasses, so I bought the inserts, and I also got the highest. It's 1 terabyte of storage.
Okay.
So it's the highest one. So.
Pretty comfortable to wear, do you think? I mean, obviously with the price, not a lot of people are buying these, but pretty comfortable to wear.
So this is it right here. I've got it here.
I'm going to hold on before you do that. I'm going to switch that and let me give you a bigger screen here.
All right.
There we go. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is it's got the cover on it. And I've also purchased a little rubber like silicone thing to protect this, because one of the things that scares me the most is this thing. It feels expensive, and it is expensive, and I am scared to death to drop it because on the Quest you just grab it. Well, this thing comes off just like that. It's held on by a magnet.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm so used to grabbing it with the other thing. It's like I am scared to death to wear this. This has got the single solo loop band on it, which is a really cool piece of technology because there's a little like dial here and it actually tightens it up there's like some strings inside of it. Yeah. So that is really, really cool.
The MetaQuest is more like a strap, like a plastic strap that goes over the back of the head. They actually
knew that this is very comfortable, but it is very, very, it'll press up against your cheeks.
Okay. Right.
But they also sent you a kind of the same kind of band that you can use on it for like the MetaQuest has. Now, my thing is I keep going back and forth, which is more comfortable. Because sometimes, like for watching movies, I think the dual kind of keeps some things over your pressing down on your face. The other cool thing about this is it fits better than the MetaQuest does, because you actually, to order this, you have to take your phone or your iPad and do like you're doing when you do your privacy thing so you can have your face unlock your phone. It actually scans your face, and I think there's like over 30 of these different sizes.
Oh.
And so it's actually specially for your face, and they give you 2 of these magnetic. There's a thinner one, and I have the thicker one on. And that comes with it too. So that's kind of what you get in the box, and you also get the battery, which is something that the MetaQuest does not have.
Nope. No, it does not.
Then a charger and the cable.
Although you could rig a battery pretty easily on the MetaQuest, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's about the same amount of battery power as everything else, but there's sensors all through here.
And is that VR or is that AR?
Yes.
Can you see through there?
Well, so Apple calls it spatial computing, which is such an Apple thing.
Of course,
because what it does is it actually does do. So there's VR, virtual reality, AR, which is augmented reality. Which, remember the Google Glass? We used to call them. They called them glass holes when they would walk around with them.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's been a while.
And that was augmented reality, like something superimposed over your reality. And I think MX or MR, mixed reality.
Mixed reality.
That's kind of what this is.
Microsoft coined that phrase.
Yeah. So what it does, it is actually, you can't see through these, right? But it has cameras that it's like the MetaQuest pass-through, only way better.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's not. So to be honest, it is not like the commercials, right? It's not like they make it look like it's like you're looking through glass at the world. Yeah. You can tell it's not real life, okay? But all the icons and all the stuff inside of it it's really hard to go back to the MetaQuest. I mean, it is It's 4K in each eye. It's greater than 4K in each eye. I think they said the pixels are about the size of a like a red blood cell. I don't know if that's true or not. I heard that somewhere. But
Wow.
anyway,
Yeah.
the resolution is amazing. Like, this is the other reason to get it. If you're a movie buff and you have always wanted to have your own movie theater, not home theater, your own movie theater.
Yeah.
This is like, instead of buying a big huge $4,000 TV, this is what you need to get.
Well,
So
I've watched videos via the MetaQuest. How much different is it if you put the screen up and put it in front of you
night and day? So
Really?
I waited to watch. And the other thing is, I was also I have a 3D TV still, like here in my office. I love 3D movies. Like, I just thought they were cool. Always have. And they kind of went away. But I had waited to watch Avatar: Way of Water. I didn't get to see it in the theater, and I was waiting so I could see it on 3D. It is spectacular, awe-inspiring, and spectacular because you don't have glasses on front of it, which darkens everything. You don't have any, like, when you're wearing it over your glasses or anything, because I have the
and you wear it over your glasses?
No, you cannot wear this over your glasses. So that's why I had to get, there's inside of here, there are inserts that are magnetized.
How much were those?
I think they were 100 and something.
Oh, that's
maybe.
not terrible.
I thought it was going to be way more. I thought
just
Apple was
bought
going to
new glasses. They were $650.
Yeah, it's not. No, it was like, it might have been 200. It might have been 199 or something like that.
All right,
but and they're progressives. Like, I have to have progressives, and so
yeah.
Anyway,
did you buy those from Apple or did you buy?
So it was when you go and do it, they ask you, do you have a prescription, and you enter your prescription, and then it goes right through. Zeiss is the one who does it, so they're high quality glass.
Yeah,
and then they come with the MetaQuest, and it just, you plop them in. Yeah. So is this a giveaway?
Jay wants to know if it's a giveaway.
No.
Sorry, no,
Yeah.
Jay.
But
23 million pixels, 3D display system, micro OLED, 7.5 micron pixel pitch, 72% DCI P3, supports refresh rates of 90, 96, and 100 hertz, and then supports playback of multiples of 24 frames per second, 30 and 30 frames per second. No 60 in that. I would expect a 60 frames per second to be a part of it. Probably not.
Yeah,
you probably can't tell.
No.
Get that close, right?
No, I mean, and the cool thing is, so there's even an IMAX app in the ecosystem that you can actually watch IMAX movies in the theater. Wow. So, and it's also dynamic lighting. So there's a really cool app that was on the MetaQuest called Big Screen, and you were able to rent 3D movies, and it was like you were in different theaters you could go into. Well, Apple has, and part of the regular ecosystem of Vision OS is these environments, right, that you can dial in. And that's the other thing that I've never seen before on any virtual reality machine, is like you can dial in, and it shows on the commercial how much of the virtual reality you want. So I can dial it in completely, so I'm sitting in front of a lake at Mount Hood, and I can watch a movie on a big screen where it's actually reflecting in the water, which is just a surreal experience. Wow. You look up and you can see stars, and it's like your own personal drive-in movie. But then you can also, there's a crown right on the top, kind of like a big Apple Watch kind of thing. So you basically have two buttons here. You've got, on this side is this, what they call the digital crown, just like they call it on your watch. And here is just kind of a button, like you select you want to buy an app, or you hard press it to actually, like force quit something. But you dial that in, and the reality shrinks or grows around you. Like, I can just have my movie and a little bit of Mount Hood, and I can see the rest of my environment if my wife's coming in or whatever, talk to her. So you can dial it in, which is very, very cool, and I've never seen before. And they have multiple environments. They have like Mount Hood. They have the surface of the moon, which just blows you away to watch Star Wars there. They have I think the volcano one. They have White Sands, and I think they have an Yukon National Park. But you can dial those in, and so that is really, really cool, which I've never seen before. And the other thing is, even if you're fully immersed, you can have settings where, like, my wife will come in, I'll be watching a movie, and she'll, hey, Jeff, and she'll come in like almost like Ben Kenobi in the Force. Well, just this little halo around her where she's popping into my reality, and I can turn and look to her, and I can have a conversation with her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it senses that somebody talking, and then brings it in. So
Wow.
that's no moon.
Yeah, that's no moon. That's a
Yeah.
space station.
Yeah. But
Um,
and the other thing that's really good about it is right here is the audio right here, the it's spatial audio, which is really, really good. And then if you want, say, more bass, then you can put your iPad AirPods Pro in. They seamlessly
oh,
connect, and
right.
you get
Bluetooth.
like, yeah, just
Yeah.
it's amazing sound.
Yeah. And
So
yet, okay, so you watched two talking heads on a podcast, Dave Jackson and I
yeah.
Saturday. Is that
Yeah.
like, does it work that way? Is
Yeah,
it
you
any
can.
less
So
boring
there's a
though?
great YouTube app. So you have Safari's built into it, so you
Right.
could watch it on that way. But there's YouTube is the big news was Netflix and YouTube aren't support and Spotify aren't supporting Apple Vision Pro when they come out.
Yeah.
So a guy has created an app called Juno, which works like YouTube, and so you can just go there. And so that's what sometimes I'll do is I'll watch somebody live
Yeah.
and I'm like, hey, video it for them and send it. The other really cool thing as a productivity standpoint is that if I look at my display when I have the headset on, it will actually say you want to connect, and it goes and it makes this huge 4K monitor as big as I want of my workstation, and I can
Wow. Yeah.
edit videos,
Yeah.
podcasts, anything in there. So
Do,
the
do you
display is amazing.
do you think you'd use it for work in a setting? The other side would be a challenge, but if you were going to do I do
Right.
virtual calls all the time for work. Would it work in that kind of setting?
Yeah,
Now,
there is a Zoom app,
okay,
and there's also FaceTime works in it.
yeah,
The thing is you actually scan yourself. You hold it up and you scan yourself. And a new update just came out today, which is supposed to be better, but it makes this what they call persona, and it's
mm-hmm.
very uncanny valley. Like it's Polar Express uncanny valley weird. Like I had my kids call and they were like, "Dad, that's horrible." In fact, it rendered like my beard is my neck, and so when I turned my head, it was like this weird, like it was cloth or something. Everybody who sees it thinks it's weird. Now the new ones are supposed to be okay, but I would not ever use it as of now for a business setting at all.
Okay for you to join the conference and see all the
Right.
people, right, from
Right.
that standpoint. Does it have? I assume it has a microphone in it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So, or do
Yeah.
you have to use the earbuds from
No,
the
it
mic?
has a microphone built in.
Because
Yeah.
the AirPods are terrible. Like that, so I don't know if
Right.
that's any better. If
Yeah.
it could be a smidgen better, it would be better than
Yeah,
those.
it's a really good sounding thing. It
Okay,
sounds, and it's
yeah,
also if you have multiple people joining, like on FaceTime, they're spatially separated. Like if you were over here in my vision, your sound is coming that way, and if I
coming
move
from
my
the direction.
head,
Yeah,
it does. It's
yeah.
pretty amazing.
But so what you're saying though, what they're seeing of you
Is
is a
weird.
little
Is
awkward.
it's weird.
Yeah,
It's more than
yeah,
awkward. It's just like this is. I mean, you can stick out your tongue and you're like, it never rendered my tongue. That's kind of odd because
yeah.
you never opened your mouth and stuck your tongue
Well,
out.
you have a
So
long beard, so I can imagine it
it has
might
a little issue.
struggle not to see
Yeah.
your chin.
Yeah.
What do I do with that? Um, Zoom has some interesting animations, right? That you
Right.
can play. You can choose some
Right.
things, and I have interacted with some folks who've chosen to do the animations, and that's I don't know. The longer I do it, they get the lips to kind of work in the
Yeah.
right way, and the longer I do it, the less it becomes kind of weird. Do you think we'll ever get to a point where that'll be okay,
I
or
think Apple's
well,
going to do a better, MetaQuest, your avatar is always a cartoon character.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I think they're going to get it better enough where people can go, okay, this is the worst this thing is ever going to be. And it's
Yeah,
spectacular.
yeah,
Like,
that's
I mean,
true. That's
it's,
true.
I mean, I get it. It's expensive. It's, it's heavy. But it's just the eye tracking. I don't think we really talked about that, but when you first get
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
it sends these infrared things out to your eyes and is tracking where you're looking. But you do this training where you look at your hands first because your hands in the environments are almost you can see like kind of like a halo a little bit around like a Zoom call. When you're on a green screen and Zoom and they kind of have that kind of halo effect.
yeah.
Well, they have that, but instead of like Meta where you have to have controllers and your arms are just kind of those cartoony half arms, this is
Yeah.
your real hands. Like I can look at my watch and actually read it. I can look
Oh,
at my phone and actually read it. The resolution's that good. You can
wow.
still read it.
Yeah.
But you do your hands and they recognize your hands and then they send you this circle of dots and you look at them and I'm going to hold it up because you don't have to hold it up. You can have it down on your lap actually. You just tap your fingers together, and that selects things. So you go around, you look at these different circles around the room to set up eye tracking, and then it does like different levels of brightness, and you do the same thing, and then you're set up. Then wherever you look and you do that, it's a selection, and it just works. It just and it's they've been training us in their ecosystem for so long. You just know what to do,
kind of how to do it. I did notice I put the MetaQuest headset on a couple months ago, and the hands had gotten better.
Yeah,
like in some updates. But you're right; they're kind of, like Andrew says in the chat. He says, "Why don't they make your hands look like hot dogs?" They kind of do. Like they're these gray kind of.
Yeah.
Now, listen, that's still pretty amazing. That
Yeah.
in a device that's you can't see and it's only cameras, it's picking up your hands enough to do that.
And then you're not tethered to a computer. Like that still blows my mind. Like I remember being tethered to everything.
Yeah, well, okay. This has got an M2 chip in it. It's 8-core, 4 performance cores. This sounds like a PC.
Yeah.
4 efficiency cores, 10 core. It's a 10-core GPU, 16-core neural engine, and 16 gig of unified memory. That's everything embedded on the chip. How good is the battery life on that thing? You said it's got the battery attached.
It's like 2 hours. It's right up there with a MetaQuest, maybe a little bit shorter. But I always leave mine plugged in because you can leave your battery plugged in. It's got a long cable. It's just when you have to get up and go somewhere where you unplug it. So that's the other thing. When you set up windows and stuff, you can walk away and walk to your living room and look back, and you're seeing through walls. They're still there, and you just walk back. They don't move with you. They're in that spatial thing, which is really great for like if you're wanting some websites open and you're writing a document. It does really help you focus if you can have what just you need, and you can be in the middle of Mount Hood in the forest and birds are going, and you can just really sit there and really focus on stuff.
The MetaQuest kind of asks you to outline an area. You kind of feel like you need to stay in that area. Is this so? You'd be comfortable walking around your house in this?
Yeah, because what happens is when you get up, even if you're fully immersed, it will tell you when things are too close, and it will actually go automatically to the live view. If you walk past a certain thing, it's constantly sending out this radar. And there's actually some YouTube videos where they figured out how to show how it maps your room, and it's constantly mapping everything. And so you don't need a boundary because if it'll warn you, like if your head gets too close to the door, it'll say, "Hey, your head's too close," or it just works. Like you can just get up and walk around, and there's no boundaries that you need to set.
Yeah, I was always I'm in the MetaQuest. I'm kind of afraid to leave my seat. I might stand up, right? One of the things I always wished it would do better is pass through for the keyboard, because I'm still a mouse and keyboard kind of guy, right? Do you get any better? The MetaQuest is non-functional in a keyboard environment. They have a virtual keyboard that you can do some things with your hands, and in theory, you can type on that keyboard like you do on your phone with your fingers, right, to kind of make it work. No 10 key idea of that. Does that change at all in the Vision Pro?
Yeah, so because I use it I'm the same way. Like for when I video edit, I have to have my mouse and keyboard, to get around. So what you can do is you just dial up. Remember, you can have it fully immersed, or you can have it fully, open to your environment. And so I have my trackpad on my so for a MacBook Pro, it's 4K display, and you have your trackpad. Actually, you can move it up to there, and it's like if you're using an iPad where you have that little circle where you can select things and move things around. And so that works seamlessly. If you are on an Intel Mac, it only, I think it's 3K or maybe it's 2K. It doesn't matter. It's huge. It's big. It's sharp.
It's big enough.
Yeah,
it's big enough.
Because I have an older MacBook Pro, and it's just fine, and it just works. I just open it up and I just type, and you can look down and see your real hands on real keys.
Yeah,
and it's just, I mean, that was because I tried this. Was it Meta Office or something? We even tried it with Guy's thing, doing some Guy Kawasaki and trying to do some stuff there. And it just didn't work really well.
No, it doesn't. That part it doesn't. I mean, there's some amazing. I still think on the MetaQuest, watching YouTube videos or playing games. Beat Saber, some of those other games are awesome, right? There's a lot of great things you could do on it, but I kind of bought it thinking, well, maybe the productivity suite will get better. And the question I had for myself was, could I use this for work? Like, could it be a productivity app? Because of the keyboard problems, I couldn't. Yeah.
Well, with this, there's people who've done their entire workday now with using this because they're able
Really?
to, like the tools. You can open Word, you can have Google Docs, you can do all that
Yeah.
stuff in there, and you can type.
Mhm.
You also, if you need to, like it does have a virtual keyboard. You can't do 10 fingers. You can hunt and peck, and it works okay. Siri also works inside of there, so you can dictate stuff if you need to do that. So
Mhm.
there's a lot. So I did write a couple articles. I've been trying to write this whole YouTube script using the Vision Pro just to say that I did it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
once you get in there and focus, being able to have all that stuff open is really, really cool because it's,
Yeah.
you have all this space to throw things.
Yeah. Yeah. I just struggled getting some of the activities to work where it's just harder to do. Some of the things I need to do are harder to do virtually than they were.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I didn't expect it to save me time, but you can't make it harder,
Right.
from that perspective.
Being able to just look at your computer and it goes up into a monster screen in whatever environment,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
that makes a big, huge difference for like, and that's the other thing. If people are limited on space, like if I lived in New York in an apartment, this might be something like I
Yeah.
know I'm not going to be able to put a big screen TV up. Well, I have my own monster drive-in theater sized screen that I can watch shows on with this thing.
Mhm.
So maybe that would be a use case too.
My one of my sons is big VR guy. He actually has bought, and I don't know the brand, but it's not any of these. It's custom brand. They're fairly small. He uses them for VR and VR gaming and VR
Mm-hmm.
music.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell when he comes over on Sundays when he's been in VR for the last
You have a
7 or 8
ring?
hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a ring. He's got, some acne
Yeah.
around those areas, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like with the Vision Pro, yeah, yes, the battery will last 2 hours, but what do you personally think is the most time you could survive in
I
that
mean,
thing?
I've watched, now I did Avatar because it's a long movie. I think it's like 4 hours or something, but
Yeah.
I did that in 2 shots.
Okay.
I know I didn't ever realize until I was wearing it for a long time how much I moved my face because I was actually rubbing some things raw on like on my forehead because I
Oh,
was like,
yeah.
making expressions and stuff. I've
Right.
gotten more used to it, and getting the band fit right and some of those other things. I'm really interested to see when third party stuff comes out. Like, when I can start trading out some of these straps and even the face shield and all that kind of stuff. I think will be interesting to see how that will work. But it's a very, very interesting piece of technology. If you have a chance at an Apple store, go do a demo because
Yeah.
it's really
I'm afraid I'd
mind-blowing.
buy it, just to be honest.
Yeah,
That's
you probably would. No,
I just,
yeah, it's
couple
real cool.
couple comments coming in on chat. Justin says, then they need to make celebrity avatars. So,
That's
for
right.
example, my avatar is Shaq, or characters such as Frodo.
Yeah.
Which do you think? Let me ask you this question. I mean, AI imagery has
Mhm.
gotten so good. You can feed AI a couple of
Right.
your
Yeah.
pictures and then say, "Hey, make pictures of me here," or give me
Right.
just some random professional pictures of me. Do you think that do you think AI might solve the avatar, there we go, problem?
I think it'll give you more options. ChatGPT is already inside of Apple Vision Pro ecosystem, and I guess I think you can actually look at things and have ChatGPT identify those and ask queries on that and stuff like that. So that's I think is going to be the next thing. I think
Yeah,
when these get a little bit, this is first version, lighter, easier
right.
to wear. A lot of people now are using them for air travel because they can
Oh,
have their
yeah.
huge
Yeah.
when they're working. They can have that whole thing because there's an airplane mode where it stabilizes stuff, and you can watch these monster videos that can actually fit outside of the aircraft, and they're that big.
Yeah,
So
yeah, well, you're not even there. You
right,
kinda right. Do you think that's okay, from a human perspective, you sit next to somebody that's got one of these headsets on, does that seem kinda weird, or do you think we're okay with that now?
air travel is not my favorite thing, so I have a
It's
skewed
weird.
view.
It's
Yeah, I
weird
just like
anyways, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. If I had a chance to get everybody else out, I might take it. I don't know if I'd take them on the plane. I know people have, and there's some videos on it and stuff. It's one of the downsides of the things that I don't like about it is it's great. I mean, I love watching movies. I'm a movie buff, but I can't bring my wife in to watch it.
Right.
Like even not, on Meta, there's even some apps where you can bring your avatars in and watch and play games together.
Yeah.
through that when a big, huge theater. I think that'll come to Apple, but right now, it's a very isolated place. There aren't
Yeah.
any Horizon worlds or anything like that, like Meta has. So
Yeah, well, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, you could take two headsets, they could sense they're next to each other. They could orientate
yeah,
and say, "Hey, I know I'm in this in relation to that," and then show that experience to you, right? I mean, it's got enough horsepower, don't you think?
yeah, and it has that thing called eyesight where it looks like your eyes. So when you scan it, there's this is a kind of a, what do they call it? A lectar kind of phrase where it gives 3D kind of effect to whatever is being shown on it, and it's not actually letting anything transparent come to your eyes. It actually is, when you did that scan, it scanned your eyes and it's tracking your eye movement and your blinks and reflecting that on the digital screen. And it's a really eerie thing. Like when my wife looks at me and she knows I'm looking at her and blinking, and because you can see where my eyes are, it doesn't work. It doesn't look as good as a commercial. Now, this new update that just came out today, supposedly it's going to be brighter. I personally think it's a little gimmicky, but like my wife can tell, like if I'm watching a movie, because it kind of does this, Ready Player One, like Tron kind of bluish screen on it. And then when I talk to her, my eyes should kind of come out of the darkness and she can see that I'm paying attention to her. It's still, I know Apple's trying to be all, it's that. They're trying to be all like, hey, we want you to be aware of your surroundings. I think it's more of a gimmick than actually a use case. And actually, when they drop it to the next version or trying to make it cheaper, I have a feeling that's going to be the first thing to go. That's just my opinion.
Really? So what we're seeing in this picture, or what they're trying to represent, that's not actual her eyes.
No,
it's a representation of her
right,
eyes.
right.
Oh, I did not.
And,
I saw these as I thought, oh, it's pass through. It's augmented.
See, that's what they really want you to think that, but it's not. It's actually, and it doesn't look that good. I mean, I wonder if I could put mine on and it would do it.
Yeah, here, let me drag. We'll drag you over, and I'll make you big.
I don't think so. Okay, so I can see everything through here, and it should be when I'm talking. You might be able to see my eyes. I got to get it probably.
It could be tough. We'll give you a second to get that spun. Yeah, the lights are shining a little bit on that.
Oh, we just went dark. Oh, let me go back out of here.
If all of a sudden your eyes just pop up, I'm gonna freak out. I'm just gonna.
Would that be like
if they just went whoop, and there were your eyes, kind of deal.
I can't see it, so
yeah,
you probably can't either.
No, probably have to turn the lights.
That's part of the problem is.
Yeah.
Let me, can I turn off my lights here? Let me see.
Can you see through enough that you're seeing this?
Yeah. I could type on my computer. I see my screens and everything. I can read.
Well,
hey, look, Jeff the Cylon. See, I can read that. So
the MetaQuest is terrible at that.
Yeah,
it's
this
black
I can.
And white. Yeah.
This you can go around and see. Now the field of vision isn't as great as the MetaQuest is. Let me see if I can turn off my lights to see if that can do anything.
See if that'll show. Yeah. If you're listening to the audio only, head over to youtube.com/Jim Collison and you can see the video of this, or theaverageguy.tv or the Average Guy TV if you want to watch the live version of this.
It may still get me too much reflection. Can you see my eyes? Anyway.
No, not well, that just goes to show how hard that is, right? And how different the advertisements are.
Yeah, it's not like, I mean, you can tell when the angle's right, and like when I'm watching it and my wife comes in and stuff. But it's not like that. Now, to be fair, supposedly they brightened it up for this new version of the Vision OS that just came out today, which I haven't updated yet.
Okay. How long's it been out? When did it come out? When did you buy it?
I think I've almost had it a month now, 3 weeks. I think it came out on, was it the 12th of last month when it came? So
Andrew puts a nice comment in chat. He says, if I don't buy one of these, can I use the money I save to go and sit in the actual forest?
I am a very special, like I would not tell my friends to go out and spend this. I mean, but I love this stuff. I love movies. I love text. This is either going to be the biggest thing that Apple's done, or it's going to be their biggest flop ever.
No, it could be in between. I get it. I get it. I mean, let me ask you this. Was the watch one of the biggest things they ever did, or was that the biggest failure? I think that's an in between, right?
See, there's so many. I love my Apple Watch
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I
But
think.
it's not. It hasn't been the biggest. Not like everybody's got a watch, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's been. This could fit in that watch category where it's so nichey,
Mhm.
nichey, however you want to say that.
And they've
Uh,
always done a great job of looking where other people are, what they're
yeah,
doing,
yeah,
and then copying and doing it better. Like the Meta Quest, pretty
yeah,
much, and the
yeah.
watch, same thing,
Oh, they've
wearables.
been working
So
on this a while, though, Jeff. Don't you think? I mean, this
yeah,
has been a long time in the
there's
making.
so much going on in there to have this work.
Yeah,
I just,
yeah.
yeah, you've got to try one,
Yeah.
Jim, and then you can call me up and you're.
I do. You're talking me into it. Justin says, does it silence the screaming kids? Could you
Yeah.
put headphones on
Yeah,
this
you
thing
can
in
wear
some
cans
way?
on top. Some people do.
Okay.
Some people wear the AirPods Max because it works really well for them. But I love when I watch a movie, I usually put the AirPods Pro in because of a little bit more bass. But the spatial audio just normal is great. But yeah, you can dial down the entire thing. The other cool thing is like, it sounds. I laid in bed and watched a movie because I can move that movie screen wherever I want, as big as
Yeah.
I want. So I
Yeah.
was laying under the stars watching, I think Mission Impossible Fallout is in 3D, and I was
Okay.
watching that the
Yeah.
other night. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's some cool apps like Disney Plus has built-in environments for their 3D movies. Like I watched Avengers Endgame from Stark Tower, and you can look around and there's a Hulk smasher here, and there's like all these little Easter eggs that you look around the environment. I watched the one of the prequels for Star Wars in a land speeder on Tatooine. That's one of the environments that Disney has. So when more of those start rolling out, like there's a game in HBO is the other one that has environments they have where you can watch it from the throne room from Game of Thrones. You can
Yeah.
watch in their
Yeah.
kind of theater. So
One of the things my son's VR setup does is it's got a gear that goes with it, gloves and some of
oh
the
yeah,
other,
yeah,
a vest,
yeah,
kind
they're
of a
cool.
bodysuit
Uh-huh.
that goes with it. Have we seen? I haven't looked at all. Is there any kind of additional hardware coming for the Vision Pro? Does it work with anything that's beyond the headset?
Not that I, they want you to buy their case, which is another
Yeah,
$200, which is a giant. It looks like a
of
giant
course.
marshmallow, and it would get dirty so fast. And I'm like, there's no way. So I got like a cheap knockoff one
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Amazon, but I haven't seen anything like that. I think but I just think because Apple's so sports based that they got to come out with some fitness things, like doing yoga with it. But it really is heavy, and it just feels like, the MetaQuest. It feels like, yeah, this is a thing. It's like a gaming controller.
Yeah, yeah,
It's plastic, and it's okay to like if I whack it with because I have done that before. Beat Saber, whack myself in the head
yeah,
with the controller
yeah,
on my MetaQuest. If I would be paranoid that if I did that on this, I'd
yeah,
be like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
even with Apple
MetaQuest is
Care.
super durable,
Yeah,
right? I mean, it's a big chunk of plastic,
yeah.
but this, I would be afraid I'd break that lens,
Well,
right?
it's a
There's
well,
no hands. There's no handsets to this, right?
no,
Okay,
it's all
yeah,
hand
just
tracking.
a
Yeah,
mask. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Wow.
it's I mean, it's got a lot going for it, but the things, like I said, the negative is that it's so ridiculously expensive. It's not super comfortable. I don't think. I think the MetaQuest. I wish they would have, like I have for the Meta, is that
Oh,
power band where
MetaQuest.
you can dial it in, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I bought that too,
Yeah,
and that's comfortable. But listen, these things are never going to be. They're giant computers strapped to
right,
your
right.
face, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
I've
I
never
don't know.
got hot wearing it. Like some people have said, like I've never had my eyes feel dry or any of that stuff. It's not comfortable. It's isolating, and that pass through, it's okay. It's better than anything out there, but it's not like crystal clear. But it's enough that I can walk around my house. I can look at my watch. I can read my phone when I get messages, which you cannot do with the MetaQuest.
No,
Um,
no, you can't see anything.
but
It's a little frightening at times when you're trying to do stuff outside in the
yeah,
real world, and then I tap it
right,
to,
yeah, yeah.
but even that is a scary,
I,
like
I,
1950s TV
I,
experience. You're
I'm
like,
always
what?
scared, like because when you have that MetaQuest
Yeah,
on, there's no like if somebody came up and like stabbed me, I would not see them coming. Like
right.
you
No,
just would
no,
no. You're totally.
not in a
That's
million
what
years.
the cool thing about this is. If somebody comes and approaches you, they break through whatever you're doing. Like
It
that.
senses them, and then
Yeah,
they
yeah,
appear, so to
yeah,
speak.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I like that.
Jeff, I always thought the better form factor that for this, and you're going to say I'm crazy, but I want to run it by you. The better form factor for this is a helmet, like fits on your head, like the
There's
old Star Wars blaster, the blast shield kind of
right.
thing, because these things are always too head heavy. They're always they grip the back of your head, and that gets tired after a while. It's a strain on your neck. I skied for a lot of years, and I used to wear a full helmet when I
Right.
skied, and I could go all day
Yeah.
with goggles on. It felt great. What do you think? What would you're at home? It's not like, I know we talked about people on a plane, so
Right.
that might be a little weird, although not much weirder than seeing this big old headset on your face. Would you wear a helmet if it was more comfortable?
The funny thing is there is a mod already out there on Reddit. I'm in the forums there of a guy who's taken that and he's got a helmet and he's modded it so he can flip it down.
Yeah.
And like almost like remember when the soldiers would wear their night
vision
goggles?
night vision. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's
I wore
think it'd
those.
be great.
Yeah. I wore those back in the day. Yeah, they were old and clunky.
Right.
Actually, to be honest with you, not too much smaller or not too much bigger than these are now. The night vision goggles the Army and the Marines and those guys use now are so sophisticated and lighter. And our night vision was not much heavier than these are now. You'd flip down, and so it's kind of interesting. I know they will get lighter, but yeah, I've always kind of thought a helmet would give you a more you could put speakers in them, and it would be you would have better spatial audio, and again, you could have cameras. I mean, they got cameras all over these things. You could have cameras that could be watching behind you.
Right.
It's so that you don't get stabbed.
The funny thing about this is there's people who have already, and there's plans online where you can 3D print this little thing. So you can actually take another one of these loop bands and have it go on the top. And so you have a double thing and they can dial it in. So I thought that was pretty genius.
Yeah.
I will say that because this is custom fitted, because they has like 30 different things, you don't have light leakage. At least I don't. Like I do on the MetaQuest. Like I have, even with the new, I have different silicone things that I've had on there. But I still have light leakage around my nose and stuff.
Yeah.
This you don't.
Yeah. And I got new glasses. I have not got inserts for my MetaQuest. And I just got new glasses, and they're a little bit bigger. And I haven't, as we're talking about this, I haven't tried these on with the new headset. And I'm kind of like, they may not fit, they're significant. I wouldn't say significant, but they are larger. I like them. I get more lens on them than I had on the other ones, but if I'm going to do that, I may have to get inserts.
Yeah. For me, the inserts were worth it. One, because it's really easy to scratch the MetaQuest lenses, and especially with glass on glass inside there. It just made me nervous. So I got, they have them cheap now.
Yeah. Justin says in chat, he says, people are totally oblivious currently because they're looking at their phones so much. So that's in some places they're putting traffic lights in on the ground at the crosswalks. Would that make it worse? Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, if it's totally enclosed, right? Or
the thing is you've seen these people on YouTube and stuff with them when the first week these came out, walking around in traffic, going and doing all this kind of stuff. That is totally fake, because everything is locked down. Like when you open a window, it's there. And you have to turn on a special airplane mode, so it's not sinking where you are in space. And so when they're doing all that stuff walking, it's ridiculous. They're faking it. It's not how it works. So, I mean, eventually I think there will be some, Apple wants to have augmented reality. I don't know if I want, what was it in like Minority Report, where he'd walk and it'd scan him and he would be in the advertisement, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if I really want that, but I do like having a movie theater in my house. Yeah,
you're a movie guy, and so that works for you.
And to be honest, I have a 49-inch Odyssey gaming curved monitor right here in front of me, but I still put these on to do some video editing because I can still have a bigger timeline, and being able to have that real estate, if you're like a podcast editor, or even when you're writing, being able to have like, okay, here's my document I'm writing, and here's the research stuff, and I can have music here that's playing. I mean, it has more productivity options than the MetaQuest does.
Well, for $4,000, it better
like wash your hair or something too, right?
It better do. It better have something that it kind of takes care of you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like we don't have a big enough house to get a huge, 60,
Yeah.
monitor,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we just don't. We don't have the space to put that. But, but you give up. I can't have my wife watch, which is not always a bad thing.
Well,
So.
and I don't know. I mean, I watch most of my movies on a 27-inch curved
Yeah.
gaming monitor that I have down here, and I'm super close to it. So
Yeah.
it's fine for what I do. I don't
Right.
know if we've got a 40-inch screen in the other room. Could go. I don't know. That's not kind of what I don't know. For
Yeah.
me, I would be more I'd be more interested in the productivity side of things. Could this, could I use this? I'd really love it to use it for conference calls.
Yeah.
Where, I could put it on and it would show me through it, and then then I wouldn't have to. Well, and I'd love to have it. And this is crazy talk, but I'd love to have it where it'd create my podcast avatar, and so I could have it on, and it would be showing me like this. But in my human state, my hands are
Right.
moving around all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at the camera.
Right.
Lighting isn't
Yeah.
always the best, kind of deal. I'd kind of like to have that thing on, and it would represent me in this setting.
Mm-hmm.
In a good, I just don't think we're that far away from that where it could show me in that, in that light. So
Yeah, it's scary because it's so good right now, but it's still not there. Is why it feels so weird. Like it's like it's like Polar Express. It really is. Like you're like that uncanny valley weird feeling when you were watching that movie.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited to see what version 2 is going to do, because it's just
Yeah. How will you feel about version 2 when you just spent $4,000 on version 1?
Well, I'll sell it to some schmuck that he'll be happy to get it. No, I mean, this was a thing because I wanted to see, I wanted to report to people like, as a 51-year-old, is it worth it? Like, if you've got the money and if this something makes you happy, yeah, go right ahead. I mean, people drop money on goofy things. I don't play golf, and I know that a lot of my friends have way more invested in their golf clubs and bags and fees than I do.
True.
That's just my thing. So would I recommend it just to watch movies? It depends on if that's a passion, if you don't have room, all those things. And if you love tech, but for the average person, like, I'm not going to tell my parents, you need to go buy this right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
but some of the apps are really cool. There's a dinosaur app on it that everybody talks about that's really, really cool. They're shooting more immersive videos. Like, there's one where you're in the studio with Alicia Keys where she's practicing, and it's uncanny because she looks right at you and you were right there. Like, it's like, whoa, that's weird. And there's a tightrope one. There's another one. And they're supposed to be coming out with more of these for people to do, but some of it's really crazy.
That would scare me.
Yeah.
That would scare me. Do you think we get to a point someday where we're wearing these things more full time than that they become, I put my glasses on in the morning. I don't think twice about it. I wear them all day. You probably do too, I think. Do you think we get to a point where that's more acceptable? This has always been what we call them, glass holes, right? When they would
with
Google Glass, right?
Yeah.
Do you think we get to Bluetooth, right? Remember they had the big Bluetooth things, and people would wear those, and you'd be like, God, you're a jerk. People talking on the phone. Any chance this thing makes it mainstream and you wear them more than just sitting at home watching movies?
They're already talking about giving them to people in first class on some of the Singapore Airlines and stuff. So I see some of that stuff. They're already getting it to where they've actually been able to project images and text on contacts, like you can like real, augmented reality.
Yeah.
Is that coming? To me, this is right now. There's some productivity stuff with it. There's a lot of entertainment stuff on it. Do I want to have it on all the time? No, I don't. I want to be able to, I love tech. I love all that stuff, but we get mad at our kids now for not looking up and they're sitting at the table and not talking. if they had something strapped to their face all the time, or glasses that would do that, or contacts, I don't know. I mean, we're already seeing that people are losing attention spans like
Yeah.
crazy. So
Well,
I don't
but you're
know. I'd be
watching a
looking
whole
for.
movie on it. It's not like, I mean, I know we say that the attention span thing, but yeah,
Right.
people are glued to their phones longer. I mean, they're staring at them
Right.
longer. I sometimes believe, I think that's an excuse, but
Yeah. Oh, well, I think, you know, I think the content, they like those dopamine hits all the time, and they'll stay and
true,
swipe, swipe,
true,
swipe, swipe, swipe.
true.
You know, I've even noticed for me, I would rather now a lot of times watch an hour TV series instead of a 2 hour movie. Like I went and looked at when I
Yeah.
was looking at Avatar, I was like,
Mm,
what? 3 hours? Oh my
yeah.
gosh. You know,
Yeah.
I'm probably that guy. Get off my lawn. But
Can you
you know,
doom scroll on this thing? Could you bring up a
yeah,
TikTok
there's a TikTok app now.
and
Like
just
you can
flip
watch
through the
Yeah,
thing? Is that what
exactly.
you do? You literally just
Yeah, you just sit here, and
flip
so
through?
the pinch thing is your whole way you move around. So like if I
Yeah.
look at a screen, I just go like this, and it
Yeah.
flips up and it rolls just like an Apple device does. You know, kind of
Yeah.
has the inertia.
At least
Um,
it's exercise, at least
yeah,
you're getting some.
exactly. My wrists are gonna be monster, but but the pinch and zoom, same thing. Oh, the photos that you can look on there is really cool.
Yeah.
If you have panoramic photos, they actually wrap completely around you. It's
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
Yeah, if you've taken
Wow.
them on your phone before, it's really really cool.
In the MetaQuest, there's a concept of like a home base, right?
Hmm.
Where you can go to this place and it's got some things around you.
Hmm.
Does the Vision Pro have that? Like, do you land some when you get in,
Yeah,
turn the thing on, do you land somewhere?
yeah. So you'll hit, and it'll be full reality, and then there's an app. There's like an icon for environments, and you can dial it in much you want, and so you hit the crown, and your apps almost like an iPad. Like you'll have the apps that
Yeah.
come up, and they'll either be superimposed on the reality that you're in, like Mount Hood or whatever, or full pass through, and they're there as well. But they're all the same super sharp resolution.
Yeah. I like a tactile response to things. I
Mhm.
like it when I touch a keyboard and it clicks, or I click
Yeah.
on a mouse and it clicks, or whatever. Do you think, one of the things with the MetaQuest 2 that I struggle with is even in the hand motions, there isn't a full tactile response. If I threw some gloves on and it allowed that response to come
Yeah.
back to my fingers so I know I'm clicking on something or touching something, do you
Hmm.
think that'd be a better experience
I
for
think
you?
so, and it feels because of the way we've been trained, and I think it almost feels tactical when you're doing the pinches
Okay.
because you have like
Is the headset got any
yeah, it's
kind
got a
of
little, it's kind of like a little, it doesn't, I don't, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if it vibrates
yeah,
or not, because even with the scroll wheel on your watch, it's
right,
not actually clicking. It's actually
right.
sending a vibration to
Yeah,
fake the
yeah,
clicking,
right.
you know? And
Right,
so
yeah,
I can see them do stuff like that. Like there's no click in there. It's just,
right, right.
it's a fake haptic feedback thing. So I
Yeah,
can see them do more stuff with that.
yeah. Yeah, I'll be honest, I wouldn't mind to get some better, and maybe in this new environment, it's just fine. With the MetaQuest, I always thought I'd rather have gloves than a controller, and
Mhm.
then the controls would be built into the gloves.
Right.
You'd
Right.
put those on and then get some tactile
Right.
response back from those gloves.
Do you remember the old
This is fun
NES
stuff.
controller that you used
Oh,
to
yeah.
have that had the
Yeah,
little
yeah.
yeah that
Yeah.
thing yeah
Kinda yeah, no, yeah, I always thought gloves would be cool. I loved wearing gloves. I don't know why. That's one of
yeah.
those things. When I used to
Do you have
run,
driving gloves, Dave?
I would
I
no, I
mean,
don't
yeah,
have
feel
driving
yeah,
gloves.
yeah,
But
yeah.
when I was a runner, I would run, I'd go out on a cold morning and I'd have shorts, a t-shirt, and gloves. And it just made me feel badass. I don't know why, but it just made me it would you, it made me feel good about it. Would you, if it was good enough, would you drive with these? Where, like,
The-
imagine the heads-up display that you could get and all the
yeah,
data you could get while you were driving, assuming, let's just say it's as safe or you have as good of a vision as you would without them on. Would you drive with something like this on?
I don't, because my thing is there is a field of view, right? Like because you have that kind of shield on there,
Think
so you
about a
don't.
Tesla with all those cameras, and it could be feeding that
Yeah,
information into you.
that would be cool. Now there's the guy got pulled over for doing that. Like he was driving his Tesla and he
Yeah,
had the Vision Pro on, which I
yeah,
just
yeah.
it was a stunt, but
Right, right.
eventually, I mean, I think I love heads up displays in cars. I think they're the coolest thing where you can like see stuff. I really, because I play the piano, I would really like to have because there is an app on the MetaQuest where it has those, like you've seen on YouTube, the waterfall where you hit the keys at the right time and to learn piano. And the MetaQuest has one that uses pass through. It's kind of clanky and stuff. I would love to see one on this because I think there should be some cool stuff for teaching and learning with this AR that Apple has already, because it's good enough for that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, certainly the learning, we always thought Microsoft's vision with the HoloLens, yeah, was that they would you could do jobs through their AR experience, and they would feed you, hey, I need to know how to fix this pipe, and someone would say, go here and do this, and show it to you, right? Or they would feed these things in. Do you get any sense with this Apple product that they could feed instructions into you that would help you do things?
There's already some cool stuff. Like there is a whole breakdown of the human heart that you could go in. And there's another one that I've played with where you can walk through a cell, and there's this thing where you actually drop an F1 car on the floor of your living room and take it apart. And see the aerodynamics and stuff on it and stuff. Cool. That stuff's really cool. Now I know that the Quest Pro actually has been kind of moved on to those industrial type of platforms that they're working on with, education, government agencies, all that kind of stuff. So I think because of the tech in this, I would assume that was what would happen.
Yeah. So. When back in my skiing days, when I was younger, I wore a pair of glasses for a while. They were round, and so instead of a big visor, they were just they would. Yeah. Do you think, we'll get to a spot where these things will be a little less giant on the front?
I think so. I'm sure it was hard for Apple to release something this big and heavy. Yeah. And I think this battery pack that because this is heavy too. Like this is a heavy little pack of batteries. I think they really don't like having this because Meta doesn't have one, that's built into the headset and that kind of thing. But just to drive all those computers, there's just no way that they could do it. Like they just couldn't. So I think they're going to try to get rid of that first, and then I think they're going to I think they'd love to get it to glasses, but I just don't know. I mean, the tech isn't there yet. It's just not.
Yeah, no, we have a ways to go. Crunching down an M2 into a pair of glasses or amazing. An M3 or whatever would be just kind of crazy to think in that small of a form factor. Mm-hmm. Although I do think maybe there's still a form factor we're not thinking about that maybe like shows
project
up
to your eyes or something, some sort of laser that wouldn't blind you.
Eye replacements. I mean, maybe that's creepy.
Well, Musk is doing that. Didn't they have the first implant go through last month or something?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I think the human trials started or something.
Yeah, who knows? Man, that guy's crazy. He's doing some crazy things. I don't know if I would. Yeah, I don't know if I trust any of that.
I don't think I'd go sign up for a trial.
I mean, he's had some pretty good success. Jeff, last question for you on this, on the Vision Pro. If there's anything today you could change, what would you change on it?
I think they could rethink the bands. I think instead of when they sent you this, I think they should have just sent you two of those. Yeah, because they're like $100 a piece. The solo knit band, if you want to get a replacement. And I'm like, jeepers, Apple, come on! I know you love your stuff, but
I think sometimes that's the razor and razor blades, the handle and the razor blades. Like, although you just paid $4,000 for the thing, and then it's like, hey, here's $200 more for
that's like for the box.
Band. Yeah.
So I think the third party stuff's going to be interesting. That will come out. There's already been some things of Crackgate dropped mine. That people are seeing right here on this seam right in the middle, like there's been a crack that they just show up in like the Reddit forums. That's why I have this thing on there. And some people say it happened because they've charged it in the case. But the thing is, there's no real heat that goes to this. It's mostly to the battery. So I'm not sure. I just think there's a couple batches that went through. If you watch the production video, you'll see all the engineering that goes into making the curved glass and stick everything in there. It's pretty amazing. Oh my gosh. But it's maybe rethinking the straps a little bit and bringing the price down. I think it actually costs like $1,900 total to make is what I read somewhere. I think, and the thing is it sold out. Like it went quickly, and the supply chain just continued to ramp up. So they're considering it a win, is from what I understand.
Well,
So
for sure. Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
I would make it as this is cheaper than if they could drop it down to $2,000. Um,
Yeah.
I think more people would do it and start making some new use cases for it, for you know, and some apps. I think it's really hard to get in the App Store now. That's the other thing. I wish there was more apps at launch. There were some cool ones, but there needs to be just some more really, really good ones.
That's always been the problem, right? With VR is the
Mhm.
killer app. They always said, well, if we can just get a killer app in the system, I think
Yeah.
we can get this thing to take off.
I think theirs is
And
entertainment because they're saying that you're
yeah,
going to be able to watch like an NBA game from the floor live in 3D on this thing, which would be
wow.
spectacular.
Yeah.
So that if they could do live sports, with those cameras there, that would be I think would be a killer.
Yeah.
App.
Well, that means that they have to have cameras all over the courts, right?
Yeah.
To make that work, right?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Huh.
yeah.
Well, I said the last question, but let me ask you one more. Do you think was it worth it? You
For
spent
me, it was.
$4,000 on this?
Yeah, I mean, there was that you had 2 weeks to take it back, right? Like I
Okay.
had 2 weeks. I could have played with
Yeah.
it, did my video, and take it back. But in the big scheme of things, I really like it, and I think it's cool to have the first version of something.
Yeah.
I would love to have my Apple IIe back in the day. Like,
Oh, that's what I
Yeah.
learned to program on.
yeah, basic. That's what
Yeah.
I did. I remember making,
10.
graphics. Yeah,
Go 220.
yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's cool, and but I am a one-off. Like I would not recommend this to a lot of people. I'm glad I got it. As when we're done with this,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and finish watching a movie or a show that I started. So I'm just like, I think it's fun.
If we think of if we think of these headsets like Windows operating systems, and you had Windows 3.1, Windows 95, Windows 2000, right?
Right.
Where would you put this in that OS development? Do you think we're still fairly? Is this
I think it's
still like
Windows
a Windows?
2000. I think it's Windows
Okay.
2000. I don't
Okay.
think it's 95. You remember 2000 was a big jump.
Yeah.
It felt like,
Yeah.
and it was kind of a new slick, operating system. I think that's where it is. So
Okay. So a lot of runway ahead though with that. When you think
Yeah, I
about
think-
what's
yeah.
yet to come. Yeah,
Yeah.
what's yet to come. Yeah, I do think there's some AI things associated with this as we figured out how to make like the large language models that are part of AI are just the beginning of some of
Mhm.
the things, and I think when we think about VR, what it's missing in a lot of ways, I think can be made up for in with AI. And so these may be two technologies that aren't separate. They may actually assist each other in moving forward. I don't know.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? Would you add anything to that?
Well, I think it's way easier now for people to program, and I think
Yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah.
think that there's going to be
Yeah.
a floodgates of apps for this because now even YouTube's like, we're not going to, and now they're like, oh, we're gonna make an app for it. They've kind of backpedaled on that. So I think developers, Apple's got to release some of the gates a little bit for them, and let them have it a little bit easier to do.
They're
We'll
not
see.
good at that. They're not
No,
good at that.
They are not.
They are
But
not good at that. No.
there's going to be there. I mean, there's already some cool spatial games for this. There's just not enough of them.
Yeah.
And Apple's never figured out gaming. They just don't. They've got the hardware. They can do some cool stuff, but they just never can figure that out. I think the productivity thing is going to be big. When people go like, listen, this saved me time because I was able to I put these glasses on for 15 minutes and I was able to get this, and this done.
Yeah.
That will be a thing. Like that
Yeah.
will be.
Yeah. No,
whatever that
right
is.
on. Yeah, if I could type, that would change. Like if I could get in VR and be able to type, see my keyboard and type like I normally do, or
Which you can
use the
on this,
mouse
yeah.
like I normally do. In the MetaQuest, no, but it sounds like this may be.
Yeah. You've got to try one. You got to try one, Jim. Where's the closest Apple store in Nebraska?
Just
to you?
downtown. Just downtown
See,
Omaha. So
Just go
yeah,
schedule it for the weekend. Go do it, and then you can have a
all
whole
right,
nother show.
All right, yeah. We'll have you back on to do some updates.
Right.
Jeff, what's I'll pull a Dave Jackson. What's coming up on your what's coming up on your podcast? What do you guys As you're looking ahead, what
Yeah.
do you, yeah.
So tomorrow I'm talking with Mike Alton. So it's 10 a.m. Central if you want to watch the live show and ask questions. We're talking about zero listen podcasts, which I had no idea what that was. I'd never heard that term before. And when he explained to me, I'm like, that is really intriguing. So he's on my show to talk about zero listen podcasts and why you should do them and the strategy behind it.
I have to go. Where would I go to watch that live?
You can go to anywhere on the socials, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the different places. Just search for Social Media News Live. If you're looking on YouTube, it's Creator News Live. That's where a lot of people show up for the chat as well. So
is there a link on your website?
Yes,
there you go.
Is.
So Jeff Sieh.com.
Yep, or socialmedianewslive.com. We'll have that too.
That's that's too much to type. I can't do that. Jeff, thanks for saying yes to come on the show.
This is fun.
It's always a risk to I was like, hey, that sounds interesting. Would you come on the podcast? And you said yes. I will. So it's great to have you on. Yeah. Well, if I ask you to come back and talk some more in a future date,
would love to. We should do an AI one because I'm really doing a lot with that too.
With
visuals
okay.
and stuff. So.
Yeah, let's look ahead on the schedule and see what I don't want to use you too much, but you're a busy guy. You're a busy guy. You got some stuff going on. So anyways, we'll see on getting you back. Thanks for coming. Can you stay around for a minute and hang out while I close things up? Just a couple reminders for those folks listening on the podcast or listening live. You can continue the conversation in our Discord group. And actually, there's been a bunch of conversations going on there lately. You guys have been doing a great job. It's the friendliest Discord group on the internet. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Justin wants to know, when's the barbecue show? We kind of did a little bit of barbecue conversation, didn't we? Yeah. But I got to get Mark Robson back to talk some barbecue. So Justin, that's a good reminder. Thanks for doing that. If you want to leave me a message for the show, you got a question or just a comment, head out to homegadgetgeeks.com. There's a little microphone in the bottom right-hand corner. Leave me a message. Don't forget theaverageguy.tv, both media and web hosting powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. And he has inflation fighting plans still in place. You can get a plan still for $10. He takes care of it all for you. Head out to maplegrovepartners.com. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. Aaron Lawrence is up next week, and everybody loves Aaron. So you want to make sure you come back for that show as well. Show Jeff some love. Head out to his site or watch him tomorrow on his podcast if you're listening live. Jeff, I won't get this done in time for Friday's show. What's coming up next Friday? Do you know what's the Friday after that? Because
I can't remember. We always have something. I'm not sure. I have to go. I don't know on my schedule what it is. So I'm not sure. It'll be good though, whatever it is. I always have good guests and a great audience that shows up.
Okay, well, check out. Be kind to Jeff and head out and check out his stuff. We'll be back next week. For those folks watching live, we'll have a short post show with that. We'll say goodbye, everybody. John threw a nice comment in the chat. He said, "Hey, Jim and Jeff, first live listen in at least 6 or 7 years." So John's been a guest on the show actually before too. So John, good to see you. Great stuff. Though I'm not an Apple guy or a VR guy, but John, you stayed around and listened. So that's got to mean something.
It's funny. I never was either. And then I switched, years ago and haven't looked back.
So. I've got a Mac Mini. How would that VR headset, would it connect to it? Like I can connect the Meta Quest through Wi-Fi 6 to my.
I think it probably would. I'm not sure what it'd probably be 2 or 3K resolution, but I think because it has the chip in it that it would work. Because I have, like I said, an Intel-based MacBook Pro and it works. It works great with I have a studio here, a Mac Studio in the office.
Yeah,
that works well. So I think it would be pretty good. I mean, one of my gaming/streaming is still a PC, so I'm still in both worlds. So
and does it just share the screen? In other words, do you just see what you're seeing on?
Yeah, and then it's just Mac? It's like a gigantic monitor that you can do. The one of the big things they didn't like about it was that it was only one monitor, and people are like, "Oh, I have multiple monitors."
Yeah,
and they came out. There's an app that actually lets you have multi monitors. But if I have I'm so used to a big widescreen anyway. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, you don't know this, or maybe you do from listening to Ask the Podcast Coach. I'm a little bit of a monitor freak, and I have 12 monitors down there. So I would want. That's kind of in a VR world, I would want unlimited monitors.
So you can have that one monitor, but then you have multiple apps around you.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah.
So you can have that, but I used to have multiple monitors, and then I went to the 49-inch Odyssey, and I haven't looked back. I love it, especially for live streaming, because I can just have multiple windows, and I don't have that break in between two monitors. So
that's the Samsung.
Yeah.
Samsung Odyssey.
Yeah,
they're making some. I want those. You probably haven't heard this before, but this is a conversation that's come up on the show a bunch. When we have Bob and Ryan from thinkcomputers.org at CES every year, they have these big, like your monitor, curved,
right?
And you can spin. I don't know if yours can it spin up into portrait mode.
I've seen this one cannot, but I've seen there's one bigger than this one that does that, and I'm like but when would you use that? When would you?
I would take 3 of them, and I would go and then there would be 9 1080p or 4K.
Okay,
right? I would have them to 333. So I'd have 9 monitors that way, and you could just be doing this. All the time. It would be so dumb. Jeff, it would be so dumb. It would be the dumbest thing. It'd be $10,000, but it would be dumb.
Cool. Listen, I bought a $4,000 ski goggles, so I can't really point fingers. But
hopefully you can sell them for at least that much, or maybe a little bit less when you go for V2.
Yeah.
It's
going to be a couple years, I think, before they do V2. I just don't see it going. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
I think you'll get your use out of it in the okay. So say hold on to that for 3 years.
Yeah.
Did you get, or what's the break even point for you on usage on something like that? Do you think? I should have asked these questions during the show. These are good questions.
So, I mean, if I make like 5 to 6 YouTube videos, and I'm getting my affiliate link stuff, and it's worth it. The other thing is I've been seriously at least once a day for the last month I've been putting them on to consume content.
Yeah,
because it is so good.
Right,
it is. It's the best TV in my house. I'm watching movies that I never got to see on the big screen, like at a movie theater, that I now can watch them on the big screen.
Yeah,
I mean. Seriously, when you do that demo this weekend, you need to say put them.
Hold on, let me secretly schedule it right now. You can do it on their website by the Apple.
Yeah, and they will actually get your prescription right and bring them out. They'll put the right prescriptions in, and you can wear them without your glasses at the Apple thing.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to give that a try. Yeah. I've never seen that work in the military. I tried to do that. We had it wasn't cool. It was a gas mask, right, that we wore. And they would insert lenses and I could never see out of those things. It would never work very well.
The only time I take these out is when I let somebody in my family play with them. I leave them in all the time. They just work really, really well.
Yeah. The monitor that you have, how much was that retail, do you think? Do you remember? The big 49-inch curve
one that I have.
The Odyssey.
I got it on a Black Friday sale. But it was not cheap.
$1,000 more?
It was a little bit under the 1,000, I think.
Okay, so it's 4 monitors basically.
It's really cool.
About
that. And it's supposed to be curved at the same diameter of your eye. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't see the curve anymore. Because you're so close, and it's wrapped really subtly. I mean, when you look at it from the side, you're like, wow, that's really wrapped. But when you look at it to the front, it's not. And gaming is amazing on it. Yeah. But being able to have, when I do my live show, my windows, and then I have my teleprompter, it's really nice.
Yeah. No, I have a 30, is it 37? 32? I can't remember. But I have a curved 1080p monitor that I use for the Mac. For productivity, that's all I really, really needed. And then I bought a 1440 27-inch curved gaming monitor for the Windows PC. It's got a gaming card in it. Watch YouTube and stuff, movies and stuff on it. And they're actually the same size, width or height wise. Nice. So it actually creates this nice curved wall on my desk.
Cool. Yeah.
And I'd stop seeing the curve. Yeah. You literally just don't even see the curve anymore. Yeah. And it works.
I don't think I could go back smaller.
No.
I mean, it's just
it's
so nice. I think you would really like the Elgato prompter though. I think it would, because it just works and it's set up all the time. And it's got a monitor built into it. Like you never have to.
I'd have to look at it. I told you I'm skeptical that I could. I give Dave crap all the time about his because it changes his cut.
Well, see, I've had mine on the entire time. Like,
you look great. I mean, you look great with it. I don't know.
It's just really handy. Like right now, I just drug or the StreamYard thing made it full screen, and I've been watching you the entire time.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the camera. So,
what's it? What is it? Just a monitor? Is it just
monitor
a
and glass, and then a mount for your camera behind it?
What's the plug? Is it just a HDMI plug that
it uses display? It uses DisplayLink on my Mac.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a USB.
How much do those run?
It's not. They're not super expensive.
I mean, I do so much of this. Now, here's the good news. My eyes are pretty squinty, so you can't really even see if I'm looking at you or if I'm looking at
but when people watch it on YouTube, they can see. Like I was noticing, my thing was like, okay, I'm and I make even with my my teleprompter software, I make it really narrow so it doesn't look like my eyes are shifty.
Yeah.
So, but it's
I don't worry about it too much. I've never been. Listen, I think AI is going to take over that too, where it's just going to lock your eyes.
Descript has it built in. They have the AI. It'll replace your eyes, so you're always looking at the camera.
That's creepy. That's uncanny valley.
It works really good.
Why is that guy not blinking?
No, you blink, but it keeps everything. I don't know how it works, but it's pretty amazing.
Oh my God!
I'm trying to figure out where the. Anyway.
Oh, John's checking in. He says he was on Home Gadget Geeks 171, 192, and 217. And so it's good to see John. Good, welcome back. I haven't seen John. John always good. He came in from the Bay Area. And
prompter is 279. It's 279.
For what? The
prompter.
Oh, okay.
Not bad.
Yeah. I don't know. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Yeah. No, I don't. You're the second or third person who's tried to sell me that.
Don't spend the money. Save it for your Apple Vision Pro.
There you go. There you go. Hey, folks, listening live. Thanks for coming out. Justin, John. I saw Andrew out there a little bit earlier. If you're still out there, Tony was out there. Joe, Ken, Uncle Marv. Guys, thanks for checking in tonight. Always good to see you guys. Come back next week. We'll have Erin Lawrence on. She always does a great job. For those listening live, I'll say take care. Jeff, hang out for me 1 second. Take care, everybody.